Hello, everybody. I'm very happy and honored to be here presenting for you today. We are going to share with you a summary of a research paper called Advanced Use of English and Literacy Development, a Case Study. The purpose here is to showcase the implications of playing video games and continuous exposure to self-selected content on the development of literacy and advanced use of English as a foreign language in a young learner whose native language is Spanish. It is said that motivation is a key factor to promote learning, and we think so too. Motivation brings learning to life, it provides enjoyment, it gives meaning to learning tasks, and complemented with different factors, it can also bring success. And I'm sure you have all heard the motto, teachers should motivate students. But do you agree? Should teachers be the only ones responsible for it? Now, stretching the concept of meaning, we were able to relate this with the development of literacy, particularly on new literacy studies, which view the concept not only as the ability to decode and produce written and oral language, but it points it directly to meaning, acquiring meaning, constructing meaning, and communicating it. Regarding the enjoyment, we will see how this particular case study, only as a hobby in his leisure time, played video games, watched videos, and read magazines with a high content of specialized sports jargon in English. And it was through this constant self-exposure to the aforementioned media that he developed this specialized lexis and consequently increased his linguistic competence. And let us emphasize here, without formal instruction. So we took the case study with the objective to demonstrate the possibility for learners to become more advanced users of a foreign language, to acquire specialized lexis or jargon, and to develop literacy skills autonomously, without any formal language instruction, through constant exposure to self-selected content. These are some of the fields now that we looked into in order to fundament our study. And at the bottom, there is a list of some of the most relevant authors that serve the purpose of our study. We will refer to the subject of study as the concomitant source, or CS. Because the analyzed source was not guided for this research. It was produced 7 years ago in 2015, and it was merely a special keepsake for the family. So this is what we got. It is an audio recording of an informal talk between the CS and a family member. The audio has a total length of 6 minutes, including the two speakers, and it contains 636 words, out of which 521 are the CS's interventions. So he was inquired about his favorite NFL players and asked to list his all-time top NFL players. So this was, at the time, this was a 10-year-old boy in 4th grade of public elementary school. He was not taking any English lessons at the time, nor the year before that. His number one motivation was football. The NFL and college leagues, talking about statistics, news, players, teams, etc. The input to which he was exposed to was mostly in English. And again, talking about the online videos, magazines, news, video games, etc. And it had been a year and a half of this self-immersion to this content at the time of the interview. The data is analyzed as a qualitative exploratory case study. I'll just mention the final steps of the methodology, and this is when we started the analysis. First, we focused on the CS's evidence of his own resourcefulness and creativity to use the language. Then we assessed and scrutinized the complexity of language use and his adherence to the rules. And last, we validated the advanced quality on the speech delivered by the CS. And now these are just a couple of samples and part of our analysis. So we have two tables here, and in both the data extracts are on the left and the analysis, adherence to the rules or suggestions are in other comments are on the right. Table 1 has samples of evidence of the CS's own resourcefulness of language use. And let us take a look at the first example. He had more seasons. In this case, the CS is using have with third person singular, but that doesn't stop him to complete this idea, complete sentence. And then on the next example, we see how Spanish is getting in the way here, but then again, a full elaborate statement. The second table has examples of evidence of the CS's language use according to the rule and the complexity of the language being used. Over here, in the first example, we have evidence of deep comprehension of the term domestic violence. And here is when he's giving us a closing statement and his evaluation. And he states, but this time it was a consequence, referring to the action that was taken for this player. And the next example, and the last one, is a highly detailed player description using a lot of adjectives and also compound verbs, adjective phrases. And I'm going to share the audio with you right now.
Well, Walter Pater, he died in the 2000 year, in the year 2000. Well, but he's a legend. He was tough. He had that huge striking, huge stiff arm. He was a complete power back, just like Marshall Lynch. But he was huge, actually. I mean, huge. And he had the power to punch out defenders and make them fly, and also he was fast and elusive for a guy of his size. And he was also pretty strong.
And then moving on to the results and conclusions. Well, the English level of the CS was validated, bearing in mind the ideal level of English in 4th grade of elementary school that takes place here in Mexico, according to the Ministry of Public Education. And they say that learners that are at this age or in this grade understand and use English to interact with basic expressions widely used in everyday contexts. And well, per observation, it was determined that the CS not only meets these expectations, but exceeds them with a variety of language forms and specialized jargon and lexis, long, elaborate, and complex statements. Sometimes it could be difficult for us to move away from the usual methods that we're used to achieve the goals that we have envisioned for our students. However, this case study is a clear example of the great potential that children have to develop their linguistic, literacy, and even social skills if these determining factors are met. We have one, the content must be really relevant, self-selected, and with true meaning for the learner. 2, the learner must really enjoy it so much that there is a continuous exposure to this content, orally or in writing. And 3rd, it's where it all started, motivation. These are some of the most relevant references that we considered for our study. Thank you very, very much for your attention. Have a great day.